week that was, right, of Mariners baseball, there was some good, there was some bad. Obviously, what was transpired in Houston was not good. I mean, they dropped 3 out of 4. They still maintain now a game and a half lead. They're on the Astros with the victory that they got on Tuesday night there against the Washington Nationals. Well, before we get to Tuesday's game, let's just talk about the overall road trip. Just how do you think it fared, and that series in particular with the Astros? How do you think it went?
Well, I went 6-4. I mean, like,
Take that.
Yeah, I take it. Yeah, the Astros series wasn't great, but at the same time, like, it wasn't like the games weren't competitive. I think one game was bad, but the rest of the games are right there. They lose a game on a walk-off. Sometimes that happens when you're at home, when you're on the road. Yeah, like the one thing you notice about the Mariners bullpen at times is they just don't strike out enough guys. There's too much contact, and that's a problem. Like when Munoz and Brash can get strikeouts and sometimes fires on lefties, but like Legamina's not really a strikeout guy per se. They're missing that strikeout component. And just that kind of stuff. Like, I think that's the bigger issue. It didn't hit as well on the road. Some of the guys have cooled off some, and then like the issue with Polanco, they better figure that out. And I mean, like, because nobody really knows, because God knows that they don't really offer a lot of insight into what's going on with him. But if he can't hit left-handed, like they didn't use him that one night, then what do you have him on the roster for? You should IL him. If like he's not going to be able to hit left-handed because his knees bother him or whatever, then you need to clean it up, rest him, and get him back, because I think that's part of the reason why maybe some of his production numbers went down, is because he's dinged up a little bit.
Yeah, they've been very secretive about Jorge Polanco, have they not?
Yeah, it's like back in the day when Eric Bedard would get hurt. Nobody knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah. I mean, we thought he was going to cool off at some point, and but again, it's if this is more injury related with him, he's been obviously dealing with the knee going into the season. Then it's the oblique issue, which has caused him not to swing there from the right side. But again, it's problematic, right? Because he's been their best hitter to start the season, but you're starting to see other guys. I mean, Cal Raleigh. We'll get into Cal Raleigh. I mean, what he did on Tuesday. Again, a pair of home runs. Julio certainly hitting the ball better, but I do go back to Cal. I mean, I think we could do a show every week about Cal Raleigh, just a segment, because this season, it's historic right now, and it's going to get even more historic for him. I mean, he's got more home runs in the history of Major League Baseball for a catcher through the first 53 games. He has played in every game this season. I do want to address that here in a quick second, but the 2 home runs on Tuesday night, and I mean, I don't know, Divish. I don't know what else to say. Or you're the wordsmith, so you describe the season he's having.
I mean, it's elite, is what it is. If this guy doesn't make the starter for the All-Star team or make the All-Star team, they should just stop having the game. I mean, he'll make the team, but like, what is his batting average up to? Like 260?
Yeah, something like that. I'll double check it, but yeah.
I mean, like, that's and I don't believe in batting average as like a be-all end-all. But like with him, because he hits the ball so hard, and because he, can drive, he hits the ball hard, he drives in, he can hit it out of the park. To have a batting average up in that area means that's why we're seeing the numbers increase. If his contact rate was down, he was putting less balls in play, and he's hitting 210, he probably doesn't have the 16 or 17 home runs, or whatever he has. It's like, that's, I think. And the one thing about him, in talking with him, is that he hated that he was in the 220s and 230s. He hated that. He didn't, like some guys just say, accept it, like the Jack Cuss of the world. Well, if I hit a bomb or I walk, but I'm hitting 210, I don't care. Like, he didn't believe in that. This is a coach's kid. He believed he was a better all-around hitter than what he showed, and we're starting to see that. Like, he's a better hitter, and I don't see why he can't even get even better. I mean, like, you just see it now. I really wanted him to hit 3 last night. I thought that would have been cool. 3 from the right side would have been cool, because that would have been different than something, because it's always been a better on the left-hand side. But, I mean, he's just outstanding. I kind of want to see him play in every game as a catcher this year. Like, not as a catcher, but just appear in every game as a primary catcher.
You want to see him appear, but you want to see him appear in every single game.
Yeah, because I just think it'd be pretty cool.
Well, but I mean, therein lies the rub, right? I agree with you. I mean, it would be certainly an Iron Man test, for the position that he plays to appear in every game. I mean, obviously, he's not going to catch every game, but you run the risk, though, don't you?
Of
If he
hurting
does
him?
not get any time off, and I know he gets in time off and he DHs or he pitch hits and all that, but sometimes he's going to need just like a full day off to like get off his feet and not do anything. Now, he doesn't want to sign up for that, but doesn't the coaching staff at some point need to step in and be like, we need to start sprinkling in some days off for him, or we need him in September?
Yeah, I mean, like this road trip, I thought maybe they would do one on this road trip because it was 10 games, but 10 games in 10 days. There was oh no, there was one off day in there, I think. But like that's the thing is like they have had enough like actual off days that I think they've been able to kind of manipulate it. Get him an off day here, use it. Give him a DH following an off day or something like that too. Sometimes, or a DH day leading into an off day, they feel like that rests him. But I think he's earned the right for you to trust him and for him to tell you like, hey, yeah, no, I'm fine. And I mean, honestly, it's like your whole lineup complexion changes when he's out of there because it's a looming presence. Like
Yes.
you look at all the kind of advanced metrics and stuff like that. I mean, he's one of the top 4 hitters in the American League or in all of baseball. I mean, it's like Judge and Ohtani and this guy named Cal Raleigh.
It's
Well, I'll
wild
never
about
forget when he was like, I think it was his rookie year. The Marlins tried to get the Mariners to trade Cal Raleigh for that Brian Anderson guy. The Mariners wisely said no.
I mean, he's the best catcher in baseball. I mean, there is no doubt. I mean, you mentioned that. I mean, yeah, starter for the All-Star game. That to me, it's an absolute no-brainer. I mean, he's got the second base. He's got the second best on base percentage in baseball. He's only behind Will Smith. He's got the number 1 slugging position percentage. I mean, the average. You mentioned that 258 right now. I mean, 258. This guy, 7th best in baseball. It's just it's incredible. I mean, he's a guy that, we've talked so much about him. And like I mentioned before, I feel like we could do every episode on him because there's so much to unpack that he brings to this team. It's just not as bad. It's how he catches a game. It's how he leads a team. It's how he conducts himself, how he carries himself. He's got this fire to him that is not always like he's not a rah-rah guy. But there's a quiet intensity about him, especially when he goes out on the mound or gives that look to those guys. You've talked about that plenty of times. To me, he is, honestly, if you molded a catcher, created a catcher, I would create Cal Raleigh.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
that's him.
And that's the thing I think that is perhaps the most impressive is like he's just not satisfied with the status quo of who he is as a player or who this team is as a team. He demands more. He demands more in terms of preparation, of continuing to improve. And I think that's important. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, that's what you invest in. Like that they got this extension done, you almost want to say, well, what took you so long? Because here's this guy that's shown you that. I mean, like listen to what Logan Evans said last night about him, about how that Raleigh grabbed him in Houston and talk to him about expectations and what it takes to compete at this level. Probably the same question he had with Brian Wu, certainly questions or conversations he had with Logan. I mean, yeah, you're right. Cal just has to get that look sometimes. But, we can skew ancient here and do the E.F. Hutton thing. Like when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. You remember that commercial?
Yeah.
Like when Cal says something to you and gets in your face, there's no rebuttal. You don't get to answer back. It's like it's a one-sided conversation and you're on the losing end. And I mean, yeah, some people may think he's a dick, but I think he's pretty good. Yeah, I think that's sometimes you have to be that way. Sometimes you have to have hard conversations and people might not like it, but at the end of the day, you respect him for it. And ultimately, all he cares about is getting you better so the team's better.
You got to have quiet leaders, stoic leaders on any team.
Yeah.
You have to have emotional leaders, I do believe. I think you have to have someone that provides that emotional spark, that wears their emotions on their sleeve. He hasn't been with the team, and we'll get to the injury situation with Robles. I've always felt Robles in a short time here has provided that. I think Julio certainly provides that as well, and there's different ways to lead and show excitement and show intensity, and I think Julio does it certainly a different way than Cal. At the same time, I think it's equally important how they both go about it, even though it's different.
Yeah, I mean, like, and it's not to say like Cal is this gigantic grump that doesn't have any fun. He has a ton of fun. I mean, like his acting in that Logan commercial too is one because I don't think it's really acting. That's how they are with each other, you know.
Is this
the one where the pitch com one?
Yeah, that's
it
a
cracks
good one.
me up because it's like that's who he is, you know, and he interacts and he's always giving people a hard time and stuff. He's not like this is grouch who's so serious, but like when it's about business, you know, they when he has to say something and has to be critical, he's not afraid to say it, and he probably won't be. He's not going to sugarcoat it, and I think that's important. You're right. Like Julio brings an energy, Robles brings an energy, JP brings a high level of baseball IQ, like just the understanding of what baseball play needs to make, like where people are supposed to be. Like they have a good mixture of players. If they just like honestly, if they had just a little bit more talent, you would say, okay, this team's pretty complete. Like they're lacking at first base and they're lacking at third base, and you know they're lacking in the bullpen right now, but. You know, they have a good core group of players that bring something a little different besides what they do on the field to the clubhouse, and that's important.
Yeah, he is. It's just everything that you want there in a catcher, everything that you want in a team leader, and the stuff that he did with Evans, you know, there in Houston, as you just touched on before. There's a great picture of, I think Shannon Drayer had it on Twitter of just showing them talking, and it's just the stuff that we don't get to see. I mean, we get a little glimpse into that, a little glimpse into last year in Boston with Brian Wu, but there is so much on this guy's plate. I mean, it is amazing everything that he has to do. It's not just batting practice; it's batting practice from both sides. Then it's pitching, it's pitchers meetings with the starters, the bullpen, everybody, scouting reports, working on his craft of being a catcher. I mean, the amount of time and effort he puts in on a daily basis is remarkable.
And then there's all the maintenance for his body too, whether it's, you know, the cold baths, the lifting, all that stuff. It's all kind of you know, there's that aspect of it all that you have to do. I mean, it's a daily thing. That's why he's one of the first people there and one of the last to leave. You know, and he hasn't wavered. Got the money, still hasn't wavered. Like all that stuff. Yeah. He's the same person. He is what you want in a player.
So be leery when your kid says, "Hey, I'd like to start catching." I'd be like, do you want to be a catcher?
Okay. I mean, it beat the hell out of me, but you know, if honestly, had I just been a catcher to start with, my career would have been a little bit better, I think, you know, but I just didn't get it. You know, I was pretty little too. So.
You know what? You're all grown up now.
Yeah.
You're getting more grown up as it goes.
Yeah, my knees now just regret it every day.
The knees regret it. All right, the Logan Evans start. Come on, Dan. What are we doing? He had 88 pitches. Can we just throw him back out there? And don't give me, I understand where he's coming from. Come on. We never get to see this anymore. Ever a complete game. Ever.
Well, you had enough of a lead. Like, even if it went south, you know, I mean, do you really need to see the human victory guard, Eduard Bizardo or whatever? Like, I don't know. I would have let him try it. I would have just said, hey, man, if you get a base runner on, we're pulling you, but go ahead and try to make it work. You know, I guess given that you have two of your starters on the IL and the other one just came off the IL, you might want to run it at risk, but
he was at 88 pitches and was cruising. Just let him dance for a batter or two and see what happens. I thought it was a really cool thing, another kind of behind the scenes and talking about maybe quiet leadership a little bit. You don't hear that much about Luis Castillo, but I'm sure as a veteran on the pitching staff, he's got the respect of those guys. And it's a really cool moment last night in the handshake line. He kind of pushed Logan Evans out there to separate himself from the rest of the group when the infield or when the players were coming off the field, so they all could congratulate him separately.
Yeah,
that was really cool. That was really cool. That was a nice touch.
that's something like in the big leagues you do, and maybe Logan didn't understand it, but like, yeah, Luis gets it. I mean,
Yeah.
he's kind of sly about how he does stuff because he's very unassuming, but he really gets it. You know, he's not a bad guy to have on your staff, and he's actually been pretty decent this year, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest.
He's been
Like,
good.
if they didn't
Yeah,
have
really
him and some of the length he's provided, it might not always be like shutout results, but for a guy to get through 6 almost every time he goes out, him and Wu, I mean, especially when you're shorthanded on your rotation, it's a huge deal.
What do you think that they do now? You got Evans and you've got Kirby back now. Gilbert's going to make a rehab start coming up Thursday. Bryce Miller appears to be back here soon on this homestand. Do they flirt with going with the 6-man rotation? What do you think ultimately they decide? What would be the right thing to do?
I mean, you could do it. You could try it and see. In the sense that, like, I think, you know, with given the nature of their staff and how much the workload they had last year, that maybe that extra day every so often, that extra day built in is better for them. But at the same time, like, you're really limiting a bullpen that hasn't been outstanding either. You know,
Okay.
you're putting a lot of pressure on it. And yeah, you can send guys down or shuffle guys out. So they could do that. I mean, like, I haven't looked that closely at the schedule to see if there's enough off days built in where guys get extra days rest, or if like they need that 6 starter for a while. So you could do that. The problem is the Mariners don't have a lot of optionable guys in their bullpen. I think it's Legumina